Okay, this is a review for the Fearless Audio Acme 8. This is, I believe, 8BA. That's why it's called 8. It's got that Boss lattice that's running from the base BA through the lattice and up into the nozzle. Design-wise, it's dope. And the shell is, of the ones that I've gotten, the coolest. It's not the Starry Starry Night level cool, but it's still really beautiful. Very, very nice looking set. Amazing company. This is the graph, if you can see. It's got a huge bass hump that comes down right where the fundamental bass, 330 hertz basically, is where this is cutting itself off. And then it's got an odd set of peaks that come along. If you're used to the Harman Target, before that came along, there was other types of tuning. So I think some people are sick to death about hearing about Harman because it's a like a crowd-funded graph. A bunch of people were asked what the appealing sound was, and they came up with that. I'm a personal fan of it, but I could see some people maybe not being great with it because they want something that's got personality, like different from another set, whereas everything that sounds like a Harman Target sounds pretty much the same. That's the problem with that. That is, if everybody starts going for that, then everything sounds kind of like that, and you can see the problems that will arise from that. So this is, at first this was not a pleasant departure, but after that I got used to it and started to enjoy it. Do I wreck it for its price? That's tough, man, wrecking stuff that costs this much. But I like it better than I did a week ago because I've been listening to it a lot more. I'm going to go through some stuff with you guys. Let me go back a track. Okay, this is Can't Find My Way Home. Somebody was saying, oh, your video is going to get blocked or something. That's artwork, actually. That's the title of that picture, I believe, was Blind Faith. And the group took their album from the name of the picture. I believe that's the story, so if you want to know some music stuff. The name of the group was taken by the title of the photo, Blind Faith. Prepubescent, I think 11 or 12-year-old girl holding a modern phallic. There's some messages going on right here. And I believe the title of this was Blind Faith. They named their group after the picture. I could be wrong, but I think that's what happened. Everybody knows this track. This is Ginger Baker, Steve Winwood, Eric Clapton, and bassist whose name always escapes me. I'm going to nail it down someday. This picture is really stealing the focus out of this IEM, but since this is about the music, I'm going to go ahead and deal with that, so you deal with it with me. Looking at that, you think that the bass is very dominant. This is not a bass-dominant track, so it doesn't highlight any dominance on this. Vocals don't sound recessed. Steve Winwood doesn't sound like he's that far back. And the drums sound good. The kick drum and the way that Ginger Baker's playing, it actually sounds really good on this set. So, graph be damned, or maybe that's a great graph, but this actually sounds good. I wouldn't say that the clarity and the resolution is on the level of the S8F, but it makes up for that with a sense of impact that is beyond that. This is probably the most punchy BA set I've ever tried. What are we, 4 minutes in? That took that long. Purple Rain, Princeton Revolution. When Doves Cry is the track on this, actually. God, what is the name of that thing? I'm going to know it when I go to another track. A voice box, I think. Somebody came in and said that he actually does use that at the very beginning. That's got a very grindy, detailed kind of thing going on with the S8F that is a little less present on this set. So it still sounds great. The keyboard, when the chun 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 sound really, really nice. Background minutia sounds a little bit less available than it does on the S8F. Probably on par resolution-wise with the S8 Pro. S8F is maybe overwhelming for some people, but this is not lacking in anything, just micro details. It seems like the back stuff seems like it's not quite as there it is with the S8F. Fire on the Mountain by the Grateful Dead. This is a great studio mix, and it comes through very good on this set. Again, because I have OCD, as everybody on this channel knows, I'm wanting for the micro details, and sometimes it seems like this set isn't quite putting it out. Now, is that large hump in the bass masking? Not literally, because it's not at the same frequency, but is it kind of like clouding my perception of some of the other frequencies? It's quite possible. That's what happens with the dynamic driver. Even if something is there, are you able to perceive it with your ears because of other information is emphasized? At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. You can hear it or you can't. Why? It doesn't really matter. It seems like some of the micro details, again, on this track are not here with this set, in my opinion. It sounds good. It doesn't compare with the S8F. And the S8F is half of the price of this, I think. So, no. Gordon Lightfoot, this is a vocal central track. You would think by looking at maybe that dip right over here, male vocals, the lower fundamental, that you might get a sense of recess or a tonality issue. I'm not finding that to be the case. Again and again with this set, what's occurring is resolution, possibly, likely due to the way that the bass is tuned. If I had a library that was hip-hop dominant, it's probably 50% hip-hop. I can see Kendrick Lamar about to come into the picture. It wouldn't be a problem. But when I got a mixed library with Grateful Dead and Gordon Lightfoot, Led Zeppelin, it's a little bit of an issue. I'd take the S8F and the Dewey and the Pro over this to listen to something like this. It's not making the vocals sound odd in the way that I would imagine the Graph is interpreting. It just doesn't sound as ideal to me. He doesn't sound on my lap, and if he were to sound maybe slightly back, not my ideal replay of this song. This is Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. Absolutely great mastering on this LP CD. Again, little teeny micro details that I know are there that most people probably don't really notice because they listen to on-ears that are not planars. They listen to it in car audio. So without OCD, you might not be. This would be kind of where this would be matching. If you had a library that was dominated by stuff like Kendrick Lamar or a lot of hip-hop or EDM, you might actually want this set right here. Because that Graph don't lie. These kind of thunder, like boom, really, really powerful. So this would be a track that would be fine with it. But Kendrick is a studio genius, and they put a ton of layers of stuff on this, kind of like the, who's that, Phil Spector, the Wall of Sound, that kind of style of creating with many, 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 many layers. You know, the Beatles, I think, copied that or adopted that, and they, you got a symphony, you got voices recorded and then mixed in, and you got layers on layers on layers. I think that's called the Wall of Sound by Phil Spector. Kendrick Lamar is a hip-hop artist that kind of employs that in his studio, and they've got layers of stuff going on. High-quality gear, you can hear it. Something like the S8F I would consider to be one such item. This is a more traditional elevated bass. I'm gonna thump you. But if you're trying to get the really minutia stuff, you're not gonna get it. I'm gonna pass this. Love that song, but I did that last time to move along. Please do not go. The guitar strum. Jun 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 dun 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 dun. This is another track where the vocalist, when he comes in, sounds a little bit different than what I'm used to hearing. So another male voice, like Gordon Lightfoot, is not sounding as ideal as I'd like it to be. This sounds like a not positive review. I like this set, but it costs $1,000. And what's the weaknesses of it? Well, you look at the graphic and see the elevated bass. You can interpret that might possibly interfere with your perception of the mids, regardless of whether or not it looks like it's graphed on there. You're catching it or not. Well, I was from the bass head and am from the bass head community. And when you elevate your bass, you are negotiating with your mids. And the more you elevate the bass, the more you are compromising the mids. And then you go up and then you just let go. Your mids are gone. That's what bass heads know, that what they got to do. And unless you have a car system where you've got drivers that are dedicated to different frequency ranges. In a IEM, you've got different drivers, but they're passive crossed over, so it's not quite the same thing as having totally physically separate transducers, drivers, representing different portions of the frequency. You pack that into a set. Something like the Empire's Legend X could do that effectively. Something like this, not quite as well. So I would say that the vocals stand out on this as being, again, like Gordon Lightfoot, not great. Tupac Shakur, bass is fine. Again, another brilliantly mastered wall of sound. I'm sure that DJ Quick, Daz was involved with that, Johnny J. I'm sure that they weren't intentionally trying to do a Phil Spector model, but they kind of did anyway. They just did stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff, and I know that it's there because I've heard it on some of the best gear you can get. It's not on this set. Bass is powerful. Mids are sometimes not an issue because something like this, it's not really something that you would be noting because there's so much going on. And there's no... The treble is not... the 8K is up, but it's not... So is two other peaks prior to it. So it's not... it's not cymballine. That's not the problem. The problem is the clarity and the resolution. It's again and again the same theme that I'm going through with this set. Do it again. This is a nice slow. Donald Fagen. This is a dope album. This is a dope song. This is something that I'm starting to realize that is kind of like Fleetwood Mac, and that it's so well made that even on stuff where everything else sounds good, it sounds great. This track sounds great on this. It's a very slow and methodical mix, and the way that they play it, that it at no time does it get there's a moment where when the drummer hits a hi-hat, dun 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 dun, dun, there's a couple things, and there's a keyboard going on at the same time. It gets a little busy, and this is where it starts to feel like it's not optimal in its tuning. Other than that moment, which is a couple times, 2 or 3 times in the song where everything combines at the same moment. It's like a jam, I think, where it repeats itself maybe 3 times in the track, and then it goes back into vocals, Donald Fagen. So it's a resolution issue with this. Bass is fine, mids, depending on the mix. If you're really, stuck on mids and you want them to be as good as possible, I wouldn't say that this would be a set that you would want. Treble, although it looks a little bit different, not really when you look back at some other older sets that are considered. The EX1000 has 2 very distinctive peaks. That's not the issue with this set. The issue with this set would be the elevation of the bass, and it comes down so quick, and it's so beautiful, and it's just too much. For my ear, and I'm a bass head, but I want my mids too, and my library shows that I want them. So bass is good. Would lean towards somebody with hip hop and reggae dominating their library, maybe EDM also, but You know, I don't know. I'm not an EDM listener, so I don't know how much like micro stuff is going on. I think as close to EDM as I get is Pack Like Sardines and a who the fuck was that? Radiohead? I think somebody told me in a live stream. It was a test track in IASCA competition because it's really fast. Dun 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 dun. That might be something good in here, but I don't know modern EDM or like that or techno, so I don't know how much details are going on, how many layers that they're actually mixing in. So this is 15 minutes. I would go ahead and say, if you want to try it out because it's just so goddamn interesting, then grab it. If you have OCD, I wouldn't wreck this set. There's too much. There's a penalty because of that bass, even though the way that they did it is brilliant, and it's bass. It's really good bass. But the mid drivers that are supposed to be taking care of the mids are being overwhelmed by the bass. And the treble, while it looks a little odd on that graph, it's not the problem. It's a kind of a masking effect, actually, that is creating a sense of lack of micro details. That person with OCD, there's a lot of people that have gotten S8F and said, I fucking love this thing. The details are just like waves splashing and smashing you on the beach. I'm making that up because that's how I see it. But versions of that. This is not that. This is a unique, bass dominant, not rolled off, but relative to the bass, the treble is. So the treble is not the issue on this. It is the elevation of the bass. Great concept, execution. Okay. I'm happy that I got sent this set and I got to experience it, but this is probably something that's going to go to the Nifty crew if it gets big enough this month. So if I hadn't been so spoiled with stuff recently, I think I probably would love this, but I've become spoiled. The good thing is that my list is tight. It's based on hearing lots of stuff. The bad thing is stuff that other people might find to be really, really exceptional. To me, if it's not in the top 5, then, you know, and this is double the price of the S8F. And that is the final nail in its box. I won't call it a coffin because it's not that big a deal or that bad. But I'd say push on this one. Not really a wreck. Up to you if you want to experiment with something. And that's 17 minutes. And this camera has been tilted just a little bit the whole time. God damn. And I'm out. Shows live on stage for hoes yelling my name to be precise, ripping